cloud. I'm a little out of breath because we've been talking, sharing about breathing. I'll get to that. I'm Glenda Carlin, and it is Tuesday night, January 27th, 2026. Welcome, welcome. There's Christ Buddha God Lynn, Christ Buddha God D, Christ Buddha God Ed, Christ Buddha God Jerry, Christ Buddha God Chaz, Christ Buddha God Debbie. There's Debbie. Getting everybody all muted. Debbie, can you mute in case the sound kind of affects the recording? Christ Buddha God Debbie, Christ Buddha God Julia. Woo! Welcome, welcome. Christ Buddha God Glenda. Welcome, welcome. I've already asked Holy Spirit, Jesus, Buddha to help me have things come through that need to come through and help each person here gain the insights or truths or information that they need. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, tonight's topic, oh geez, is I got so many pages here. What's my talking? Yeah. I'm living. Now, folks, this is shocking to me. I never ever really kind of knew what a state of grace is, but I really feel like that's what's happening. And what that means is this clear light, this God presence, I no longer have to look above my head to see this shiny, groundless ground of God's presence. It's settled all within my form, where I feel emptiness has a fullness to it. Now, that word emptiness is an adjective that's used to describe this spaciousness, this beingness that's our true nature. But emptiness, what it means is it's not obscured by any of the six senses. The six senses are the mind, thoughts, sight are objects, we see images, sounds, we hear sounds, we smell smells, we taste tastes, we feel feelings. Those six senses, due to practicing nowness awareness, mindfulness, and meditation, and compassionate responsiveness, these six senses now self-liberate on their own. That means when they arise, they liberate, leaving this pure emptiness, which is God's presence. You could call it openness, But anyway, it's a state of grace, meaning there's God, I'm aware of God's presence here now, not obstructed by any of these six senses. And one of the six senses is thinking mind, which I was talking to Lynn just yesterday about. The thinking mind automatically labels, names, sorts, and evaluates everything. The small in mind does that. And so these thoughts of sorting, naming, automatically they come after an object is seen or a sound is heard, because that's how the small in mind has been, how we've lived our life. As soon as a sound, an object, or whatever comes up, we've been taught and we live by this conditioned behavior of sorting, labeling, naming, judging. Evaluating means judging. But most of us, we don't want to say, oh, I'm judging. So I'm starting to use some different words. Name it. Just naming that sucker causes it to stay longer. That object, that vision, whatever you see in front of you, if I name it, I've grabbed onto it, it's staying longer. It's not self-liberating. Now, what I'm talking about here are seconds, if not, can be minutes or half a day, where we glue on to some grievance or something, and we're gluing sentences together, and we're just unconscious with it, because that's the way we've lived our life. But with the Course and this Tibetan Buddhism, we're teaching to become aware of what our feelings and our thoughts, particularly aware of what we're doing while we're doing it. And as we cultivate this nowness awareness, we become aware when the mind's going off into the past, present, or future. And we stop. In the beginning, all I would do is just stop and bring my attention back to center, to that spaciousness or emptiness. And before you know it, the mind would wander off again. That's our practice, is becoming aware of what the mind's doing and what's showing up in front of our face. But it's not that easy. Just try it. Because what we're doing, we're moving from left brain, the thinking small in mind, to union with the right brain hemisphere of our intuitive gut Christ Buddha nature, where there's a union. And in this book, I recommend, I'm going to start teaching from this book. It's called Buddha Standard Time. It's the best, I believe it's the best book I've ever read. I've read it several times, but as I am where I'm at now, Buddha Standard Time by Lama Surya Das. What I just was expressing is about being in the now. The now is the fourth time, the ascendant time, the natural time where God's presence lives and our Christ Buddha nature lives. Not in the past, present, and future. Those are the three illusionary times. So each time we are aware the mind wandered into the past, present, or future, and you come back to that spaciousness, you've come back to the now. Your nowness awareness is that what we're cultivating. But anyway, in this book, it talks about corpus. Now I spell it here. Callosum. C-O. I wrote it. So here it is. Corpus. C-O-R-P-U-S. C-O-L-L-O-S-U-M. I think I spelled that right. We'll see here in a minute. I think that's. Yeah. No, C-A-L-L-O-S-U-M. Now, what this is, but now picture there's a left brain, a right brain, or hemisphere brain, and they're connected. There's a bridge between them of this tiny cable of nerve fibers called corpus callosum that connects left brain to right brain, but that baby is clogged up. Therefore, we're just the thinking mind, the small m mind. We're just thinking. That's the left hemisphere. That's why we have to consciously practice trying to open up this right hemisphere by meditation, sky gazing meditation, space mingling meditation, insightful meditation, concentrative meditation, mindfulness practice, nowness awareness, and compassionate responsiveness. Now, why I'm talking about that is that's what's happened. This bridge between the left and right hemisphere has opened. And the two hemispheres are talking to each other. And those represent yin and yang, masculine and feminine energies that are polarities that are in opposition within your form and mind. That's the belief in the false self. A separate body, a separate self, is made up of this masculine and feminine energies, yin and yang. Now, picture the left side of the brain hemisphere operates the right side of your body. So it's like a diagonal. Right side of the brain operates the left side of the body. So in this Buddha Standard Time, Lama Surya Das has a section. Let's see if I'm going to get to it. This came up, so I'm going for this section. This is what's happened. The fruit of my practice has resulted in these two hemispheres are rejoined. Yin and yang as polarities have rejoined Yin and yang represent heaven and earth as rejoined, samsara nirvana rejoined. The this nowness awareness is ascendant, but yet immanent in each form. So our awareness knows of God's presence, our Christ Buddha presence, and of this world, and that we're experiencing living in this body. It's rejoined, like it was in the Garden of Eden, in the primordial, beginningless beginning, when the form and this and spirit light knew it created the form, was within the form, experiencing the form with the six senses. But anyway, in this book, let's see, I want to, page 61. Oh, what this talks about, there is a Harvard trained neuroscientist. Her name was Jill, Bolte Taylor, Harvard trained neuroscientist. She had a massive stroke at age 37. And so Lama Surya writes about it in the book because she was a neuroscientist. She was used to the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere was awake enough. It sensed something was wrong and she went and got medical help. But it took her, she had a massive stroke. There was like a golf ball size, I don't know if it's blood or something in her brain. It took her 8 years to be able to re-talk, walk, and all the stuff. And I'm going to read from the book because this is in essence we've not had a massive stroke, but it's like we've had a massive we don't have to learn how to walk and talk again, but the two hemispheres are not talking to each other. We're asleep. That's the problem. Okay, here it is. As the damaged left side of her brain, our rational, grounded, detail, and time-oriented side, see, that's the left side, lost most of its function, she alternated between two realities. The associated creative right brain, which retained a sense of complete well-being and peace during the whole ordeal. And the analytical left brain, which observed her undergoing the stroke, was nimble enough to seek help in time. After her recovery, in searching for words to explain what it's like to remember living completely in her right brain, she was living in her right brain of this holy light. Taylor reverted to childlike wonder. It's kind of like the story of how the blue sky is always there. And so I see the blue sky as the right hemisphere. It's always there. It's always doing what it does. It's a constant entity. The left hemisphere is the clouds, and the clouds represent brain chatter. The clouds come in and the thoughts come in and they block the view of being able to see the blue sky, even though the blue sky is always there. It's interesting that her description of the left and right brain hemispheres correlates to the relationship we've examined between the little self and the higher self. In the course of healing, as the logical left brain started to mend, she learned to switch back and forth from one hemisphere to the other. Through visualization, she began to strengthen or rewire her own neural circuitry. See, that's what we're doing. We're rewiring this neural circuitry by our practices. It required tremendous will and effort. Don't you know it? Wouldn't you all each say? You need a big will and effort to do this. Awakening. Let's see where. Because floating in the boundless blue sky felt so satisfying and peaceful, Taylor ultimately perceived her 8-year period of illness and recovery as a gift rather than a waste of time. It made her realize that the key to living a fulfilling life is recognizing the need to synchronize both sides of the brain, and she writes that her life is far more gratifying as a result. Here's the deal. We need both sides of this hemisphere, both sides of this brain. Here's where Lama Surya says, we need the left brain to analyze, evaluate, make decisions, strategize, and execute. But we also need the right brain to dream, imagine, see patterns, express our feelings, and rejoice. No one can be exclusively right or left brain, at least not for long. It's time to bust out of the box and decide we have a whole brain and it's a beautiful thing, she declared. The chief difference between the two halves has to do with experiencing and managing time. In the left brain mode, Taylor experienced almost constant stress and pressure. Don't you feel that in your work life or your regular life? Stress and pressure, because we're operating over there in that left brain. In the right brain mode, there was no measurement of time, an insight that complements the research of Andrew Newberg that I mentioned in the last chapter. He felt free to create, dream, and enjoy without urgency. Fortunately, there's a natural bridge between the two halves of the brain that prevents us from living exclusively in one hemisphere or the other. It's a tiny cable of nerves called the corpus callosum, callosum. We might say it unifies our head and our heart, our mind and our emotions, our masculine and feminine energies. In describing her extraordinary experience over and over again, Taylor uses the terms like timelessness, interconnectedness, in the moment, the big picture, blissful, and peace, words that are primarily in psychic and mystical literature. Later, her inquiry to make sense of it all took her to traditional spiritual and metaphysical teachings, especially Buddhism. Taylor's work concludes with a summary of current medical studies with Tibetan meditators and Franciscan nuns. Interestingly, like the dots in the yin and yang symbol, the latest neurological research shows that cheerfulness, enthusiasm, and feeling full of energy are governed by the left prefrontal cortex, while anxiety, anger, and depression are localized in the right prefrontal cortex, the reverse of what we might expect. The studies show, however, that meditation strengthens the nerve fibers of the corpus callosum and deepens communication between the two hemispheres. Now I'm going to close with page 71. And this section is called The Art of Synchrony. The word synchrony literally means together in time. See, we're wanting to get these two sides of the brain synchronized in time. The practice of meditation is a beautiful way to bring our left brain hemisphere, governed by Father Time, and our right brain hemisphere, Mother Earth's bailiwick, into perfect synchrony of doing and being. Concentrative meditation focuses on linear or left brain thinking. Mindfulness meditation focuses the mind even more strongly, intensifying the natural electromagnetic charge to the rational left hemisphere, while integrating the intuitive, holistic right brain activity. When performed regularly, mindfulness meditation will deliver extraordinary gifts of understanding and self-realization. Insightfulness meditation engages the associative right brain, and the intense concentration can result in a spontaneous release of restriction into sudden, expansion. A burst of cyclical or spiraling insight arises, and proportionately more energy flows to the right hemisphere, bring about breakthrough insights and intuitive discoveries. Woo! We are in sync, left with a synthesis of linear and cyclical thought, a balance of contraction and expansion, logic and intuition, which is the perfect harmony of yang and yin. We become illumined. I'm not just reading this to hear myself talk. This is really huge, this bridge between these two sides of the brain. We might say, for the sake of simplicity, that the left brain is our heart's mind, and each has its own logic. Let's say we want to study the workings of our solar system and universe. The left brain approach is to make an outline of the celestial objects, define each, and then analyze, quantify, and theorize about it. The right brain approach is to glance over charts and apps of the heavens, make a poster, mobile, or diorama, or simply go outside at night and, as Walt Whitman said, look up in perfect silence at the stars. Gradual progress comes from linear regular, repetitive practice of any skill, including attention and awareness training. Now, here's the deal: intention and awareness training. Insight more commonly comes all at once, replicating the gestalt or intuitive learning style of the right side of the brain. Both are needed. This is the final paragraph. Regular meditative practice increases our spiritual epiphanies and breakthrough peak experiences. With discipline and effort, a trigger will suddenly allow for simultaneous awareness and realization. We still the mind to one pointed focus, and instead of narrowing down to the one point, it broadens out as far as it can. How extraordinary to go small and end up in infinity. This is the joy and wisdom that meditation can bring you. As J. Krishnamurti said, meditation is the ending of thought. It is only then that there's a different dimension that's beyond time. In this book, he has all kinds of practices, and some different meditations. And how I got to this point of feeling the state of grace and feeling a stabilization of nowness awareness, where there's no separation between the objects and this awareness. For example, I forget if it was last Friday, it's in the email. I went to the sink in the bathroom to wash my face that morning when I woke up. When I looked at my hands, the water, the faucet, the sink, my body, nothing was separate. Everything was just moving together. And when I looked at this, I thought the word that came to me was seamless. Seamless. And later I sat with that word, seamless. Picture seamless, picture a garment like this sweater I've got on. It's got a seam down the side. Where the seam is, where the two pieces got seamed together, there's a line where it's seamed. I was seeing that there was no seam between my hand, my fingers, the water, the sink, my body, this face, the mirror. Things were just all together. See, that's non-dual awareness. It popped. It occurred because I've been practicing being 100% aware of what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Which means, do I feel my feet walking on the floor as I walk to the kitchen? Do I feel the movement of my body? Do I feel my hands touch my skirt or my slacks? Do I see the light switch versus just touching the light switch? Do I put my hand on the faucet? No, I'm putting my hand on the faucet. Now I'm going in detail about this because was not doing this. Up to 2 or 3 months ago, I was not doing this. I wasn't down to the basics of being aware of what I was doing while I was doing it. And as I practiced more and more, then it became easier to be present, 100% present with what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But it also entails being 100% present when I'm talking to somebody, either on the phone, or the other day, a person came from the board and we were sitting at my table and I was talking with them. I was 100% present. That means I'm responding as needed. I'm talking as needed. I'm taking a breath as needed. If I feel, like and then I breathe in and silently breathe in and out of the person because I feel like they're feeling a little anxious. And this is culminated in what I want to also share is last Friday, I experienced something I've never experienced either, which where I live, I purchased a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in 2 5-story buildings. There's 30 units in each building. Once a year, we check the water sprinklers within each condo unit. And to do that, we open the door or knock on the door, and there's been a big notice at the elevator, make sure, home or the, make sure we can get in your unit because we're inspecting your water sprinklers. But it came to me, instead of these two men walked with us, and Sandy and I were the two condo people, the representatives, board representatives. We have these bundle of keys. They're about 6 inches long, about 4 inches wide, big ring of keys. Each one's got a little label with a plastic label with keys for each condo unit. So we decided we were going to take this chance to check that we've got a master key that works for all these front doors. And it's not that easy. There's a top lock, bottom lock, screen door lock. Sometimes there's a keypad. So Sandy kept the list of if we were checking too, we had the correct contact phone number for them, and she'd keep track of what key didn't work, and we'd ask to get a key, etc. Well, let me tell you, this is one big jumble deal. To get the doors open, explain to people we're just getting the doors open. In about 15, 30 minutes, the two ATP reps will be here and they're going to check your sprinklers. From 8 o'clock to 1:30, first I went to this building, worked with Sandy. We got this building done. I went to the South building and worked with Dolores from 8 to 1:30, folks. And I am just in shock. During that time, only once did I see that my mind was muddled. And that's the word I use, because I said to Dolores, my mind is muddled. It's just full of all this stuff we're doing. And as soon as I recognized my mind was muddled, it cleared, because my simple acknowledgement that I was feeling muddled cleared it. That's called self-liberating. Rang draw, yaw draw. Self-arising, self-liberating. These 6 senses, if we leave them alone, they'll self-arise and they'll self-liberate. But I didn't ever leave this stuff alone. I was clinging and pushing on the sights, the sounds, the thoughts, the tastes, the smells, you name it, right? That's our regular asleep life. But it was shocking later that I wasn't, only that one time did I recognize my mind was not 100% present with what we were doing. It was from 8 to 1:30. That's like 5.5 hours, folks. I've never done that. And I recognized why it occurred was we were operating in a fast succession, as fast as we could go without being neurotic about this stuff, and communicating with each other. And I recognized flow. The flow, I got in, there was a zone because there was just a flow. And I talked when I needed to talk. I wrote when I needed to write, held the keys and tried the locks as I needed to try each lock. And and then I noticed unconsciously, after we would leave a unit where we talked to the resident, I wasn't thinking to do this. I just unconscious, as we walked away, I would turn around, kind of slightly bow to the person and say, thank you. I've never done anything like that. Well, I've realized when I'm out and about now, I'll do that, slightly bow to people as I acknowledge their presence. But in this condo association, I've not really done that to every person. Because, see, that's a spontaneous response to their godly nature. Their clear light nature is unconsciously bowing to their clear light nature without saying anything to them or like this was just sweetness. Now I'm going to check my notes because I'm just wanting to explain this practice pays off. Unbeknownst to me, you just keep practicing. Oh, and so also in this email I sent, there's an anonymous post that Lama Surya Das did to Facebook, meaning it didn't have an author. No, Holy Spirit doesn't want me to do that now. That'll be done maybe at the end if we got time or next week. What he wants me to talk about is Minneapolis. Last week, after the Zoom meeting, there were two or three of us that stayed to chat. And one of the ladies that stayed to chat was from Canada, Angela. And Angela was concerned that the United States of America was going to annex Canada and Greenland. And so I explained to her, I didn't vote for Trump. And the majority of the US citizens do not agree with what he's doing about annexing Canada and Greenland, or what he's doing in Minneapolis and other cities where he's sending in these mask agents to, without a warrant, without due process, go into people's houses, grab them out of cars, hurt them. And now we've had a second killing. So what I want to do is we're going to do a prayer. First, let's just give a prayer to them. And not just them, Ukraine, Russia, the Middle East, Africa, but our own United States of America, where our own government's killing our residents. And I shared on Facebook, I gotta find my sheet of paper. I shared a post I wrote based on, I saw a post on Facebook. And I'm going to read this post on Facebook first, and then I'm going to explain what my post was. This is quoting a man named Martin, Niemoller. It was back January 22nd, 26th of this week. And this is about protests. Now, let me see. Oh, first, Holy Spirit wants me to tell you mine. It dawned on me that what's happened. I'm very thankful that people are protesting throughout the country about this unlawful aggression toward U.S. citizens. And even immigrants have the right to due process. But anyway, so I wrote a post that said, I recognize that when Hitler and the Nazis came for the Jews, no one protested against that. Now, there were some people in private that took some Jewish people in and helped try to save them, but no one publicly protested, and they took the Jews away. And then during the World War II, Franklin Delano Roosevelt took Japanese people and put them in a concentration camp just because they were Japanese. They're U.S. damn citizens. Put them in a concentration camp. No one protested that the Japanese were put in that camp. So now, thank goodness, people are protesting that unauthorized people are taking immigrants and putting them in concentration camps, and little children, 2 years and 5 years old. This is now why I wrote this post. And in that post, I wrote that I firmly believe most course students and a lot of Buddhist students, because they see this as an illusion, it's not real. So why do I need to do anything? I'll just sit at home, why should I do anything? It's an illusion. It'll take care of itself. Well, here's the deal. I wrote in my post, well, fine. Let's wait until somebody comes to your door and takes you away without a warrant. Just think about that. But then I ended with this other post from this Martin guy that says, first they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for a trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. and there was no one left to speak for me. Just take that for however you want to take it. But I've been to some protests and I vote because even though this is an illusion, both the Course and Tibetan Buddhism is what's the bottom line? We're supposed to be loving, considerate, have compassion and empathy for our brothers. We're not supposed to kill them and put them in concentration camps. Due process. Okay, now what else I want to cover is how much time I got? 15 minutes. Then I'm going to cover this anonymous post, which it covers one of 8, page 3. It covers what I'm experiencing. And I've never read anything that is just so beautiful. It just summarizes everything. Here it is. It's anonymous post, but this between you and me, I really think that Lama Surya posted, but it says anonymous. I really think it's talking about him. He's the yogi this is talking about, but that's my perception. Anyway, there was once a yogi who had been in long solitary retreat for many years practicing Trechid. See, that's seen through, being through, and Togal, Togal, being through, and periods of complete darkness contemplation, literally dark, long enough that the eyes adjust and the mind starts using the inner light. Now, see, I've not done darkness meditation, so this part doesn't pertain to me. I haven't experienced this yet. Using the inner light to see, in quotes, subject and object dualism recedes in awareness alone. See, now that's what's occurring right now. The polarities of yin and yang, masculine and feminine, inner and outer. See, inner and outer. I've got subject and object, objects out there, and I'm a subject. Those polarities have receded. You rejoined. They're no longer separate, opposing each other, fighting each other, and dissolved within the clear light. But to see subject and object dualism recedes in awareness alone, the nervous system itself forgets how to grasp, react, and follow habitual patterns. Now, see, that's what we're talking about. Practicing 100% aware of what you're doing while you're doing it, then you become aware of when you're grasping, reacting, and following habitual patterns of naming, labeling, sorting, evaluating, right? You don't beat yourself up about it. You really go like, hallelujah, I caught my mind wandering off and I'm aware of it and bringing it back to spaciousness, seeing the clear light, thinking of the spirit that this item is, letting go, letting be, right? When the yogi came out of that long silent retreat, he met an old friend. The friend was agitated, frightened, full of the news of the world. Violence, greed, injustice, cruelty, anxiety, fear, and both societal and environmental degradation. Now let's name them now, right? That's naming the world we see right now. I don't know when this was written, but this is now. It appears to be happening in our karmic unfolding, the collective karmic unfolding and individual unfolding out in front of our face, etc. The friend said, how can you justify staying alone in retreat when people are being killed, abused, and exploited? This is mere escapism and selfishness, solopoism, spiritual bypassing. The yogi listened and then quietly said, I've not escaped anything. I have entered everything. See, that's the difference about the sink. And now, even now, there's no separation. I've entered everything. I'm one. I'm one with everything, one with the karma, one with what's showing up. The yogi had not followed the news. Like Thoreau, he was more interested in reading the eternities. But suffering had not disappeared. It had appeared differently. Every sound arose as vibration, every form as light, every movement as display. And when suffering appeared, fear, violence, anguish, illness, doubt, it did not land as an object outside awareness. It arose within awareness, inseparable from it. That's why I'm not, see, his words are better than mine. I'm not really good at explaining what's going on, but that's it. All these objects are arising within awareness, inseparable from it. From that, loving awareness and spontaneous compassion was not a mere stance or a position, but natural, authentic, unfabricated, and unavoidable. For the friend watching the news, violence and crisis was the news. For the yogi, everything was the news, and a natural karmic unfolding, interconnected, interdependent, and therefore nothing was excluded. This is the point of the Grand Lama, JAMGONROLPE was making. The danger is not caring about suffering. The danger is fixating on relative appearances as if they stand apart from awareness, and then calling that fixation being real. Yes, good and bad are possible. Yes, relative fear arises. Yes, cause and effect function. Oh, and I want to clarify to add here, just because I'm awakening doesn't mean that I'm not still irritated about something. or, or that I don't have a discussion with someone. Like I was having a kind of a person standing back might think an argument with one of our board members because I wanted to go over and help the lady in the South building. But he had a kind of a little different opinion, but we worked it out and I went down there to help her. But doesn't mean there's not disagreements. No, that's not what awakening means, because it's all together as one. Heaven and earth are integrated as one. That means there'll still be thoughts, feelings, and sensations within the mind and things showing out in front of the mind. But it's not the cards we're dealt, but how we play the hand, how we look at those objects, sounds, sights, smells, and catch ourselves when we're naming them, labeling them, and evaluating them, right? And just let go. We're cutting our tie to habitual conditioned behavior. Yes, cause and effect function, but when fear becomes the organizing principle of perception, when the amygdala becomes the sky, that means fear becomes the sky we argue in, when urgency replaces clarity, we have quietly abandoned the greater view, the big picture, while claiming to defend compassion and rushing into reactive activities. These things still happen out there, good and bad, relative fear arises, cause and effect function. But as we've leaned back into this nowness awareness, we're no longer in the left brain hemisphere thinking, sorting, judging, and evaluating, where our own thoughts we're reacting to our own thoughts. That's what gets me. All these years, I've been reacting mainly to my own thoughts, my own feelings. all that labeling, sorting, and stuff, evaluating is going on in my own mind in lickety split, lightning speed, right? And you aren't even aware we're doing it. Then we're reacting to that. We're putting these judgments, this activity out on the person we're talking to. It goes so fast, but you use your feelings when you're irritated, anxious, to let yourself know, oh, hold it, I've listened to the wrong voice. Let me choose again, like Jesus says in the Course of Miracles. Non-dual Mahamudra and Dzogchen traditions are not saying, I love this part, nothing matters. It is saying nothing stands outside of awareness. That's what I love so much. That's one of my favorite lines in this whole thing. Non-dual Mahamudra and Dzogchen traditions, and I think the Course of Miracles is saying this too, are not saying nothing matters. It's saying nothing stands outside awareness. Awareness is God's unconditional love. His awareness is unconditional love, accepting each one of us exactly how we are. So even Trump, who's out here spouting good, bad, and sending ice out after people, we still see through his image to the clear light of spirit that he is, and the ICE agents and all that. And that brings up, I saw a commercial on TV, and I want to thank Donald Trump for it. It was an immigration commercial. It's the first time that the whole universe disappeared in front of my face. This was just last week. I was sitting here, I was playing solitaire on TV, and a commercial showed up, and the commercial was that immigration commercial where they're showing the cute little man, a husband, wife, and a little kid with a little soft toy, and saying, "Oh, we'll give you a free ticket to go back to your country, and then when you get legal, you get to come back to the United States of America." Yeah, right. So I'm hearing this commercial, and immediately, and seeing those images, seeing a mother, father, and a little kid with a stuffed toy boarding an airplane with other airplanes in the background, which I normally would react to. And I said to myself silently, there's nothing to see and no one seeing anything. And I'm not kidding you, in less than a split second, everything, the commercial disappeared, the TV disappeared, my room disappeared, I disappeared, my body disappeared. Because there was no subject and object. I was saying to myself, and I really believe it, there's nothing to see and no one seeing it. But even though I'm living this way, I'm not going to be mean to my neighbors or not vote or not protest if something happens, right? While I think of everybody as a clear light of spirit. But thank you, Donald Trump, for that commercial, because that brought me to this state of grace where everything is God's presence, where nowness awareness is completely filled. God's presence completely fills my form and everything. No longer do I have to look above my head for the shiny God presence. That God presence has descended within this human form, filling this form. I call it feeling the fullness of emptiness, feeling the fullness of God's presence, which can be called the great completion or the natural great perfection, natural body, natural heart, mind, natural breath and energy. Everything is consumed or cradled or held, immersed within God's presence. Now here's the final. Let's see if I'm getting off a track. Got one more paragraph here. Let's see, 4. I got one more paragraph in this anonymous thing. When awareness is recognized, appearances do not need to be denied or amplified. Now see, that's what I was just talking about. When your nowness awareness wakes up, appearances do not need to be denied or amplified. They self-liberate upon arising, like ripples in a stream, in this case, the stream of consciousness. And it's not just that everything is in the mind, as some amateur philosophers like to say. The mind is equally in everything. Compassion does not require outrage as fuel. It arises because separation has collapsed, and one feels the suffering of others as if it's one's own, and naturally feels moved to help, to respond, to empathize, and align. The great middle way is a way of moderation and balance, and we're not off in either ditch of Nihilism. This is all illusion. I'm just staying at home doing nothing. Or the other hand, it's also real. I'm just scared crappy, you know. The middle way, a balance between uh the six senses. You're aware of these six senses, but you're gathering a little pause between all these senses before you react. You're consciously choosing how you're going to respond more and more and more. And that brings me to the breath work. Now, D is already kind of left. I'm close to 8, is she was talking about how she was taking care of a 101-year-old person, and he got couldn't breathe, and she had to convince him to go to the hospital, but she was feeling nervous about it, and her little grandson was there that's almost 3, and he says, Nana, you got to take a breath. Let's breathe together. This is a little 3-year-old kid. His mother has taught this little 3-year-old kid, take a breath. And Dee said, so then they breathed together and she felt better. So I explained in this book, Buddha Standard Time. Please, everybody, consider buying it because I'm going to be teaching from it every week now. Buddha Standard Time is in it. There's a little lesson and then an exercise. There's exercises, lessons, meditations that you can do right then with the book. But this one's called The Breath of Fire. And what it is take a deep breath from the lower belly, excuse me, and fill that lower belly with this air, your breath. And then when you exhale, just stick it, do swish, just let it go out. Do that, it says 7 times in a row. And below that, it says, well, you can even do it 21 times. Let me tell you, if you do it 7 times, you're pretty much going to have everything aligned: breath, energy, body, mind, and heart. But you do it 21 times, heck, you could just be in Togal, Togal, which means being there. You're 100% in the now, just relax, being with your Christ, Buddha, nature, and God's presence. That's the breath of fire. And Dee said her husband accidentally slammed the little kid's fingers in the screen door. And the little kid went, I need to take a breath, a deep breath. He learned, he was feeling hurt. His first response was, I want to take a breath. A little 3-year-old kid, he's breathing into the pain. And Dee said she wanted to feel what it felt like. So she put her fingers in there and closed the door, maybe not as hard as her husband did. She said it hurt horribly. This little kid remembered, I need to take a breath. Bless our hearts. Oh, that's called the toolkit. Breathe, relax, and smile. Or go outside and look at the sky. And then just automatically you relax into God presence, into your natural state. Because you just let go. Let go of the thinking mind and all this stuff. Now, I'm at 8:02. I don't want to go much longer over. Any thoughts or comments before I stop the recording? I know I covered a lot. And we'll look at what I didn't cover tonight and cover it next week. And I may cover this anonymous thing, but also the thing about the corpus callosum, because it's so, to me, I'm not thought about the physical things that are going on within the body as we do these different kinds of meditations. There's concentration meditation he talks about in there, insightful meditation, mindfulness meditation. He's got exercises all in there and explains how to do them. What they're doing, they're causing this corpus callosum, this tiny calls it cable of nerves between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere to open up where the yin and yang, the polar opposites, talk to each other, communicate your imbalance. And then when they talk to each other, usually the third eye is open, and then they go and talk to the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is where your light energy comes in. So light energy and yin and yang are joined. So those three join right there in the physiology of the body. Duh. Okay, before we leave, let's look at each person on the screen and practice Jesus's advanced forgiveness from A Course in Miracles. And it's called Buddha's Trechin, Treckoc. Seeing through, being through, cutting through. The image. Jesus's is look beyond the body to the clear light of spirit that's here. There's Christ, Buddha, God, Lynn, Christ, Buddha, God, Ed, Christ, Buddha, God, Jerry, Christ, Buddha, God, Debbie, Christ, Buddha, God, Julia, Christ, Buddha, God, Chaz, Nina Lee, Christ, Buddha, God, D, that was here, Christ, Buddha, God, Glenda, and all those that listen to the video later. Everybody and everything stands within nowness awareness, within God's presence. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording tonight, Lynn, and those that want to stay and chat, we can stay and chat. Thank you. And thank you, Ed. I know you're going to that in-person meditation. Thank you for coming out. I much appreciate it. Thank you.